Seems like it's all SUVs all the time on Talking Cars. On this episode, we talk about the Kia Sorento and the Chevy Trax. We also talk about your winter driving comments next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody and welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Mutchler.
I'm Gabe Shanhar.
And I'm George Kennedy.
Seems like every other day here in Connecticut in February, there's another blizzard.
Yeah, look at this. I mean it's like a whiteout blizzard.
Getting outside as we film this.
Snowpocalypse.
So I'm not going to complain too much that we seem to have a lot of SUVs joining the test ranks, the test fleet.
Yeah, first of all, that's the market. A lot of new choices, a lot of new models, a lot of new offerings, and our readers just gobble that stuff up.
Well, everyone's gobbling up SUVs. First one I want to talk about, it's coming off of the Super Bowl commercial, which I understand you're happy with the outcome of that.
Very happy with my Patriots win.
Yes, you are. I'm going to talk about the Kia Sorento. The big game ad, Pierce Brosnan looked pretty good. The car itself is pretty nice too.
If Pierce Brosnan came with it, it would be nicer too, but I'll take it as it is. Yeah, I had a chance
I'll take
to
the fireworks at the end.
Yeah, I'll take both, all right?
About the car.
Right. So I had a chance to drive it last weekend, spent some time with it. Really soft to sit in. The seat bolstering was a little strange for longer rides. Generally, it's the interior is well laid out. It's a pretty solid for what it has to do. It's a 3-row family SUV, and it accomplishes that well.
Your thoughts?
It's a very family-friendly kind of vehicle. It has a sweet spot, kind of like it straddles the small SUV category and the midsize SUV, and it gives you a 3-row choice that's packaged in a very manageable, maneuverable kind of a size, and it's a reasonable footprint, easy to see out of, easy to park. So it's a very non-intimidating kind of vehicle. And you know what? These guys are getting serious. I mean, in terms of ride, it's really improved. It's quiet.
Because that has been a long time complaint of Hyundai and Kia products, especially Kia. The Sorento always has had a really pretty stiff ride.
Pretty stiff, yeah. And I mean, it steers well. The interior fit and finish is pretty nice. The powertrain with the V6 is really slick.
Yeah, I know.
See, that's one area that I felt that it was a little lacking, and that was the V6. Even when you put it in sport shift mode, it still felt like it took a little while to get up to speed.
Oh, you think so? I mean, I was really impressed. I mean, that's only a 3.3 liter. They're still getting, I believe, 290 horsepower out of it.
Right, which at 290, I think it should still move a little bit quicker than it does.
Interesting. I will agree with you on something. I did not plan this. I took the car for a weekend trip into Pennsylvania, just kind of on the spur of the moment. Yeah, I was squirming around in the seats a bit.
You usually take spur-of-the-moment weekend trips to Dutch country?
It was actually the exact opposite. It was an improv festival, which is about as far from Dutch culture as you can get. But anyway, it was a very nice, very, very nice car. Got 25 miles per gallon overall. I mean, I squirm a bit in the seats. But yeah, this is a really well-done car. I think the thing, though, is people probably still have the perception that Kia is a value brand. But Kia is getting pretty brash with their pricing. Yeah,
and there's a wide span of pricing here. I mean, the car starts at about $25,000. It can grow to over $40,000. Ours is about $38,000, which is the sweet spot for that car. And they're not shy charging you, and it's more expensive than the Honda Pilot, actually.
Yeah. Well, the Pilot's old.
Yeah, it's so old.
But there is a lot of content here.
There is.
But on the flip side, our $38,000 Sorento EX does not have a sunroof, does not have navigation. I get that stuff in our Highlander XLE is maybe $800 more with that stuff.
And has a small touchscreen radio that only shows you 3 presets.
Yeah, the Kia, you'd want to upgrade and get the bigger radio, but to get things like a sunroof, to get things like nav, you've got to upgrade to an SX or a Limited. You're over $40,000. So I mean, it's not. Yeah, there's a lot of features, but you're paying for them.
And there is still, I mean, just to touch upon something you just mentioned before, there is a lag in perception. Even when you compare both of these brands, Kia and Hyundai, there is a little more respect for the Hyundai and less respect for the Kia brand.
Is it the hamsters?
Could be.
It might be the hamsters, or it might be
hamsters. I think help
or
it.
it might be that Hyundai was building respectable cars about a year or two before Kia.
Right, but if you want to change perception, there, one of two ways of going about that is, you start, showing, when you look at that price, you're like, wow, that price is no joke. People might perk up, their ears might perk up when they see that. The other thing is the actual design of the cars. I mean, Kia has been really bringing it from a design standpoint, and they always seem to bring their cars, available in the model they promote is in white. Yeah. That's the hardest color to make a car look good in, and they seem to be pushing that all the time. And they almost look like a lower end Audi for a lot of their models.
Yeah, they do.
Well, poaching Peter Schreier as a head designer
That'll
from Audi
help.
was a pretty brilliant move.
That helped a little bit, yeah. But no, the interior is very upscale. It's, again, it was like the Murano we talked about in the last, the Murano we talked about in the last show. Was, it has an upscale feel. Something that doesn't feel as upscale though is the Chevy Trax.
Not a fan.
No. What is the Trax, Gabe?
The Chevy Trax is basically a raised wagon version of the Chevy Sonic, which is a subcompact budget car built in Korea, and it's sold around the world as that category of subcompact SUVs is like exploding, and so it's offered around the world under various brand names, including the Buick Encore here in North America. And it's starting to compete, so GM hopes, with other upcoming subcompact SUVs like the Honda HR-V or the Mazda CX-3, which aren't here yet. But
there are limitations to this car.
It's a huge problem because they realized the small SUV market was exploding, but only too late. And all they had in their portfolio was a Korean small SUV, which they made some tweaks to make it usable for the American market. What they really needed was a ground-up, clean slate vehicle, which they did not deliver.
Well, what they need is a competitor for a RAV4, a Forester, a CR-V, and they don't have that. The Equinox is too big. The Equinox is basically the size of a Highlander, and it's old, and it's not particularly good.
Right, they have this gap, a huge gap, right in the heart of the market. But to compensate for that, they price the Trax as if it were in that heart of the market. It's $25,000 for the LT all-wheel drive that we bought, which are going to be like more than 50% of them. And it's not price competitive at all.
Now, ours is nearly $26,000. You throw in another couple $100 and you have a Forester. Now, I've made that point in a video on YouTube, but people come back with, but people want a smaller car. They want the smaller package.
They want a good smaller SUV.
Well, that's the thing. This isn't a great car either. I mean, that 1.4 liters, not really getting the job done.
Yeah, it's a 1.4 turbo, and it really doesn't impress at all in terms of acceleration. And what we found with the Buick Encore, fuel economy wasn't all that terrific either.
No, and I think most people, a Forester is not a big, difficult thing to park. And you can see out of the Forester far better, and it's going to have better safety equipment, and it will, I just don't think that many people are going to, I need this car that's a foot shorter. I'm willing to pay Forester money for a car that's a foot shorter.
Right, it's a hard sell. What it delivers for the price, I've found that from a price standpoint, and from when you get inside and you start to look around, from both those standpoints, you gotta where's the rest of this car?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's got a fancy, one of the comments I got was, I'm ruining the market for this among the young girls whose parents will buy this car for them or something like that. And okay, I get that. Well, I don't care.
Those young girls will thank you.
Yeah, they'll buy a Golf and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care if I'm ruining the market for GM, but I mean, but you can see it. It is marketed that way. It has the very fancy touchscreen radio, which has absolutely no buttons or knobs, which is infuriating.
Annoying as all hell.
But yeah, it's a car that's trying to look cute and trying to win over buyers by appearance more than substance. We got a bunch of questions because at the last show we asked you to tell us about driving in the winter. From Dennis LeBlanc, I have one of the first Toyota FJ Cruisers that came out. In the first winter, I made it through on all-terrain tires, but it was horrendous. It was scary every time I took it out, and I ended up keeping it in 4-high just about all the time. But I can tell you that after I got a dedicated set of tires, Nokia and Hakka SUV5, it was amazing. Had them for several years now, only use 4-high during winter storms. The hated electronic nannies are now my best friends. They intervene a little too quickly to even think of having some fun, but they're a godsend.
Wasn't the FJ the one that had this odd Toyota logic. When you put it in four-wheel drive, it disconnected the stability control,
Yes.
which was, I can see why it was horrendous.
I mean, and that's meant for off-roading and rock crawling, and those, you know.
So disconnected when you were in low.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, the things that, it's a sort of a misconception that like a four-wheel drive truck is the ideal snow vehicle. I mean, it's big, it's lumbering. You also have to make that distinction of, you know, the newer ones have four-wheel drive auto, but you know, I used to have a Tahoe, and you used to have to make that big time decision: do I put it in four? Do I leave it in two? And until you do that, you know, things are up in the air. And the newer vehicles with the all-wheel drive are far more capable in the snow.
And you knew what you were doing. Most people out there have no idea. What am I supposed to do? Now decide
Exactly.
not disengage or engage.
But it also makes the great point that tires matter.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
my Dodge Durango has, I have a set of Nokian snow tires on it. It is near unstoppable.
Oh, I know. I mean, in my old Passat, it was front-wheel drive, but it had those Nokian, and I mean, the car would climb walls.
Yep.
But you said he had what was it, all-terrain tires
He was running it with, I
before?
guess, the factory all-terrain.
Sure. So all-terrain's the problem is that, you know, I've driven a Raptor before that's had, you know, BFG all-terrains on it, and all the grooves fill up with snow and they become a set of slicks. And at that point, it's totally moot. My personal Jeep has mud terrain tires, and that's okay in deep snow, but when you're on icy roads, it's not much help either.
Yep. Next point, sort of to the same point. I would love to see CR test the traction stability systems on all the cars you test. I'm talking a drag race in a fixed setting to see which systems work the best. Obviously, use the same tires on each vehicle. Do all the more expensive vehicles have the better systems, while the cheaper stuff get hand-me-down? That's something that we'd love to figure out how to do. Obviously, weather changes, which makes it hard. But the thing about standardizing tires, you know, that when you're testing this stuff, that you wind up with information that doesn't really help anybody.
Right. We're all about applied, useful, real, meaningful kind of stuff. And so I'd say stay tuned. You know, we have something coming.
Right, but the thing is about changing tires is once you've changed the tires on a car, you're only helping Honda CR-V owners who happen to put that set of Michelin snow tires
Absolutely.
on the car. We'd at least like to be able to help people when you buy if I'm buying a new CR-V, if I'm buying a new Forester, if I'm buying a new RAV4, with the tires it came with.
Right.
How's this thing going?
Tires for us are an integral part of the car.
In a perfect world, we would set same tires for everything, and then that would allow us to test the other elements of the vehicle. But that's not how people are buying vehicles. And some people are buying winter tires. You know, you have a lot of Audi and BMW owners that are getting that winter set to go with their summer performance tires. That's a small segment of people. And though we recommend that winter tires are a great option for winter driving, most people, you know, logically, they've spent $25,000, $30,000 on a new vehicle. They don't want to have to outlay more cash.
Right.
So they want to go with the tires that are there.
We can also
It's the convenience. I mean, you don't want to do it twice a year. And another thing here to compound is the awareness to the benefit of winter tires is really, really low out there. I mean, I was, except in some locales, I was in northern Vermont this winter break, and every car was driving on Gislaved and Nokians.
Well, you need them in northern Vermont. Also, we can tell you how good winter tires are because we have winter tire ratings on
That's
our
right.
website. Next question. David, among other people, David Pate wanted you to explain a few things.
Me to explain a few
You
things?
to explain a few things.
Great.
You said Q3 was a monster in the snow. Highlander was a darn snowplow, 4 wheels off. What does that mean? Were they good in snow? I think I infer the Highlander was not good in snow, but not sure about the Q3.
Okay, so Highlander 4 wheels off, that means 4 wheels were off the track. We went to go turn, and we just kept on going.
Right.
The Q3, meanwhile, has, you know, the Quattro setup, had all-season tires, it's smaller, it's lighter, and it did really great things.
I mean, the
in snow.
Highlander had all-season tires too, but
It-
they're not great.
And the all-wheel drive system, you know, you try to give it some gas, and the traction control and other stability control systems try and intervene, and they won't let you put the power down. Meanwhile, the Q3 lets you feather the throttle, lets you work through the turns, and really, it was like driving a Forester where you're in total control in those conditions.
So that explains that.
I hope.
I hope. Finally, I really like this comment from Wells306. Being from Texas, we haven't a clue how to drive in winter weather, so we just freak out, hoard food, and close everything.
Yeah.
Is that a question or a comment?
No, I think it's a comment, and I like that. Some other comments on last week's show. Seth is mad. We got a lot of comments saying we're old, which you're not old.
I'm not old.
I'm mid-old.
I might be.
Sure, revel in it. Seth says,
Old and wise.
Seth says, you are all old. You have no idea what the younger gen wants. I am 18, and if I had the money, I would definitely buy the Lincoln MKZ. Go drive your Camry home.
Wait, how old is this person that want a Lincoln MKZ?
18.
Can't blame him. I mean, the MKZ looks dynamite. It drives beautifully.
That's
Wow.
not a typical 18-year-old.
He sounds like a McConaughey fan.
Wow, maybe he's,
It could
he's
be.
thinking outside the box. Good for him.
He should buy a Ford Fusion because it arguably looks better
it's a
and
better
is
car that's
basically
cheaper,
the
yeah.
same car. It's cheaper. We got some comments about your like and your kind of hate on the Escalade. Will Allen says, 8-speed transmission, magnetic ride control, best-in-class fuel economy, all the space you could ever need. Cadillac has survived with the smaller, more expensive foreign cars. Its buyers like what they get and what it's about. I agree the shifter's too much for this luxury SUV and the third row's downright bad. But at the price and the quality of build and materials, how can you not consider it over a smaller, less capable, in my opinion, less stylish BMW, Mercedes-Benz, or Lexus? I guess the problem that I have here is that the Escalade costs a lot more than an X5.
And how it drives. I mean, there's no argument about the styling or the interior quality of it. And some of the things look good on paper, but
Yeah, the 8-speed doesn't
just-
really work out. And
Yeah.
the magnetic ride control.
Those things that look good on
feels-
paper also are not what makes the Escalade good. Like, then those things don't execute either. The magnetic ride control isn't great. The transmission is not great. But it's the style. It's the,
acres of chrome.
acres of chrome, the big wheels, the sense of presence when it arrives somewhere. That it makes a statement, and that's why somebody buys that vehicle.
the attitude is standard.
Yeah, but I mean,
Cadillac should charge you for that.
but it's more money than an X5. It is, I believe, more money than most of the Lexus competitors.
It is, but it's okay. I mean, if you want to charge more for it, make it justified. Make it deliver the goods.
Well, here's one of the places where you don't think it delivers. This person writes, I disagree with Gabe on a lot of things, but I really disagree with his hate of column shifters. It's a truck. I bought a 14 Silverado instead of a 14 Ram based on Ram using that god-awful rotating knob to shift. Such a dumb design and so pointless. It takes up space on the center console where it doesn't need to be. And you like the shifter on the GL? It's basically in the same place as the shifter on the Escalade.
Well, sure. I mean, you can reach the GL shifter or any Mercedes shifter with your finger. It's low effort. It's something very much more gracious about this than this thing.
This
that
big.
It's an American SUV. It requires
it's a
this.
high
That's
effort.
true. It has so much. It has so much power.
It's
It
muscle
requires-
memory now.
It
Yeah, it's long reach.
requires
It's
that-
high effort.
Yeah.
It's just completely at odds with the $90,000 luxury vehicle.
But here's the thing, though. Like, you look at the shifters on the Mercedes and the BMWs, and they're fine. They're becoming commonplace in the last couple of years. But they're new if you take the longer sort of memory of us driving cars. The column shifter is, it's muscle memory for us.
You're right. Also, but there's the thing that actually the rotating. I know this is on the rotating knob shifter in the Ram, which actually I think is a great idea. It doesn't take up that much room on the center stack of the dashboard. Also, it works the way park is on the left, drive is on the right.
Really simple, yeah.
It's simple.
That
it's
works.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels, it doesn't feel cheap.
I remember
Like the column shifter.
somebody that a PR agent from one of the luxury automakers, I don't know if it was BMW or Mercedes, basically said that those shifters, the specialty shifters that they have there, are meant to sort of create a secret handshake with the driver. That somebody getting into it that hasn't owned it doesn't understand. Like, that's not necessary.
No.
It's not intuitive.
That's PR talking points.
It is PR talking
It is a good
points.
PR talking point.
It's trying to cover up the fact that that shifter is hard to learn.
Right. That's going to wrap it up for this show. On the next episode, we're going to have our top picks list for 2015. We'll see you then.